Oh, good. Yeah, a little tired, but everything with like adductor was fine, and I was feeling good moving. We had some time to kind of build up with all that, and yeah, didn't really feel anything other than just general getting back to playing.
Your absence kind of gave, and some other absence kind of gave Nemayesh Keita a little bit of time to kind of step up into a role. You guys are kind of sharing these minutes. What's that like now, knowing that you have a specific set, he has a specific set, and you guys kind of like working together on that? How's all of that working for you?
It's good. I mean, I feel like we're, just like encouraging one another and, yeah, trying to do whatever we can to kind of help us win, whatever that requires. So yeah, I feel like that's the great thing about our group is, I feel like everyone is like right behind each other and looking out for each other, and I'm happy for everyone else's success. And I think that's something that is pretty unique. But I think when your goal is just whatever it takes to help your team win, then yeah, you don't really care who does it or how it gets done, as long as at the end of the day you feel like you're doing what you can to help accomplish that.
And then you had 10 points in the second quarter there. You had a stretch where you were just kind of benefiting, like a lot of rolls, a lot of cuts like that. What was it about this matchup that allowed you to kind of get those openings?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did. I mean, it's a couple different coverages. I feel like, yeah, you're just trying to time it up, and whether it's, I think we did a good job too of just kind of spreading the floor and having a lot of motion. I think that just made tags or help and not as clear, and made it a little bit more difficult, where I ended up being the one who benefited quite a few times. And then same thing with our guards being able to get downhill, and I know they did a great job of like finding me when I'm available, or being able to like get offensive rebounds. I think it's kind of the same thing when you have that like motion, and our guys are putting people in pretty disadvantaged positions. It makes it easier on like the opposite side of being able to get tip-ins or just make yourself available, and it's either me or the shooter. And also our guys did a great job making shots, and I feel like they're kind of in a tough position of what exactly are they going to try to limit.
You've talked before about how your perspective switched to the point where you don't care about your minutes, your personal role, anything like that, and how you kind of decided that yourself. How did you get to that point, and how has it impacted you as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like I thought I was there like earlier in my life and in my career, but I mean, frankly, I feel like it was like quite a bit of suffering that I had in my career that kind of opened it up, where you just realize playing for yourself, then when it wasn't going well, like it was kind of all then about yourself as well. And I don't know, just doing anything for yourself is not a very high or fulfilling goal, I feel like, to do it. And I also think just part of where I was in my life as like a husband and father and stuff like that definitely helped shape things in terms of realizing like the best things I feel about in my life are the things that I'm actually doing for other people. And so I think, I mean, at different points, but definitely starting in my time in Maine, I really made it a focus of just like, we're here as a team, and we're all just going to try to figure it out and make each other better. And I feel like that's made you're able to share your joy a whole lot more, and you're also be able to like kind of dissipate your struggles, I think, when you're connected with everybody else. So yeah, I do feel like it's the most fulfilling way to go about it. And it makes also, when like the days like this come, you're grateful that they're able to happen, but you also know, like, I don't know, if it's not for Derek and JB and Drew and Sam and Peyton and all those, like, you know, they're helping me out. Like, I'm trying to do my job to help them out, and it just doesn't really matter whose night it kind of is where it shows up for them in terms of points and box score type stuff, as long as we're like, yeah, rowing in the same direction at the end of the day. And yeah, it's nice when you get to have like the little moments of kind of consolation in that.
How does that help you when, you know, you come back from injury, you don't play a couple games even after you're healthy? How does that help you kind of deal with that and keep it in perspective and stay ready?
Yeah, it definitely does. I feel like, yeah, when you're concerned about yourself and you're in that situation, one, you just start feeling a little bit like powerless and stuff like that, which isn't great. But then also you're not really like uplifting or benefiting anybody. And especially on like the NBA roster where there was 18 spots, like there's going to be a lot of guys who aren't playing on any given night. And you kind of have the choice to be able to, yeah, sort of like offer your work to the good of the group, or just kind of like close in on yourself. So to me, it seems like the better solution is pretty clear in that. But yeah, I mean, I you want to think that going and getting everything for yourself is kind of what you want, but I don't think at the end of the day it's like you'd rather share it with everybody who's around you and really enjoy the group and the team and the year, because you're not going to get the same group again. So you can appreciate that for what it is.
Luke, I'm sure you've been in situations where you dressed, but you knew I'm not going to play. Like, you just.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not going to play. I'm going to go, I'm going to prepare myself. But when you go from, let's say, not playing against the Lakers to starting and playing 30 minutes, how does that change your preparation? That has to excite you and the rest of the guys to know that everyone's eventually going to get their chance.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I've played for enough years to know, like, that's how it's going to happen. Like, there's going to be nights where people aren't playing and, like, you're just going to have to be available. It is kind of funny that that's how it, like, worked out. And after the first 6 minutes, I was pretty exhausted. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But, yeah, you just kind of appreciate it for what it is. And, I mean, I'm not exactly sure of anybody's stats, but, like, I'm sure come San Antonio, like, if KP and Al are back playing and JT, then it's like, all right, whatever. Like, I just hope we go out and we win, and I'm fulfilling my role for that day. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of peace in just doing what you're told in a weird kind of a way, and, like, knowing what your job is and trying to do that thing well and not worrying about things that you really can't control. So, yeah, it was I don't know. You can get lost in, like, the emotions of that, but I think just focus on what your work actually is, and then taking it day by day.
A lot of coaches, I think of Brad Stevens in particular, talk about guys who don't know what their role is on a given night have the hardest job in the league, because you don't know coming in when the coach is going to call you up, and whether it's a big minute night or a not big minute night. How difficult is that really? And, you seem pretty grounded. You seem to be in a pretty good space when it comes to all of that, but human nature is what it is, right? Like, how tough is that to stay in the moment, like tonight notwithstanding, because you got the start, but to stay in that moment and be like, is this the time I'm going to get the call? How do you stay ready for that?
Yeah, I guess it's a weird thing in terms of, like, the daily prep, in terms of, like, working out and trying to stay in shape, and having to kind of, like, adjust that day by day and put yourself in the best position. But I do think there's a lot of peace in knowing, like, and just accepting that you're going to be, like, put in those difficult positions. And yeah, it could be where you're not playing and then you're playing 30 minutes. And, like, I do feel like, especially here in Boston, we have a group and, like, players, coaches, and staff that are all very, like, cognizant of those, like, individual struggles that are going to have. But at the end of it too, it's like, well, I know that this is a difficult position, but it's like, what can I really do about it? And then, like, kind of putting the rest to, like, peace and at ease, because I think it's easy to start feeling too, like, it's probably easier a little bit as a big too, where it's like my job, I feel like, is for the most part of just being physically in shape and running and screening and roll, and, like, whereas, like, I do feel like for guys who are shooters, it can be a little more difficult because you're just, like, coming in for, like, one or two random shots a lot of times, and that can be a tough position. But yeah, I think everyone knows, like, the work that everybody's putting in on a day-to-day basis, and that, like, any single performance is not completely indicative of how things are going or how they are as a player, and that, like, who you, like, are and who you are as a player will kind of win out in the long run. And yeah, when you're, like, Joe knows when he's putting in a guy for 4 minutes to just, like, provide something and, like, have to be able to fill the rotations, that's a hard spot. And it might feel for them that they take one shot and it doesn't go in and they come right out. But I think, yeah, we also know as, like, a team and staff that, like, they're doing their job as well as they can. And it would have been nice if that shot went in, but to know that effort matters, and like, that filling of your role, like, matters. And yeah, once again, just trying to have peace with that. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, no problem.